Hey there, Scapers, and welcome to another RuneScape weekly live stream. Hope you're all doing well out there, especially if you're in the UK and you've got kind of an impending lockdown coming up. This week is our Leads Q&A, so this is where we get the chance to sit down with some of the RuneScape leadership team, bring you the latest updates on what's going on in the team, and if the title kind of somewhat reason didn't give that away, we're also going to answer a host of your questions that we've been collecting over the weekend too. I'm your host, Mod Hooley, and I'm also joined by this illustrious cast of people. We've got Mod Osborne.
Why, hello.
Mod Mike.
Hello, everybody.
And Mod Warden.
Howdy.
I feel like I should have given you more oomph on those guys. I feel like I underserved you all. Before we get started, there are a couple of things I wanted to get out of the way. Yeah, I know. We do need a jingle. Like my weird tea time exit. Okay, we need to put that on the Christmas list, Osborne. Wrestling intros are in. So firstly, let's talk about some things just to get them out of the way. Double XP Live kicks off on Friday. So for members, that's double XP and then 20% bonus XP for free-to-play players. For those of you who are new to those events, you get 48 hours of juicy double XP bonuses, or 20% if you're free-to-play, to use at your own will over the course of 10 days. And thanks to the ninjas, you even have that pause the timer, so you can really optimize your gains. And then the other bit of news we've got to share just before we get things started, if you didn't catch it earlier in the week, is that we've had to push the Golden Gnome Awards back to November 20th. Obviously, we really can't wait to celebrate the community and the amazing creators we have in the community. But with lockdown coming imminent here, we've had to go full virtual, and we want to make sure we don't underserve the event and we make it as awesome as possible. Loads of hard work going on behind the scenes. The team are killing it, and the wait's going to be worth it. So thanks for your patience on that. It's going to be a really cool event. So just before we dive into the many questions and I end my little monologue, we want to try something a little new this week. And just before we go into the questions, talk a little bit about what's going on throughout the team with the leads and kind of give you a little peek behind the curtain, as it were. So I'm going to start with Mod Warden, I think. So Warden, obviously recently launched Steam. How is RuneScape going? What's going on all up? And like, what's our current thinking? You know, we're getting towards the end of the year. What's going on within the team right now?
Oh gosh, I think everyone's pretty knackered, to be honest, right? Like coming off of a really large release for us, and that was a huge, tremendous effort in the company. A lot of teams took part in that, a lot of partnerships and so on, right? So we're just kind of coming off of that, and then what did we chase it with, right? Halloween and Orthid, right? That was right around the corner. All of these things were kind of looked at very, very carefully and being able to deliver to those commitments, right? And then it's just, just taking care of the rest of the year in the strong way possible. It was how many months ago then when we started talking about the second half of the year plans now?
I think it was end of July, early August, if I remember.
It was July when we did the Desperate Measures quest, and it was really that was the point from there.
Yeah, so it would have been just before that. Yeah.
We started teasing things there, and then of course, coming on and being able to talk about some of them, and then getting more specifics on dates and times. So what do we have left to look forward to this year? We have the construction skilling updates, a lot of great ninja activity. We have the bossing update. Violet is Blue 2. So it's a lot happening for us right now. I think we're really just busy and tired. We're in 2021 roadmap planning as well, looking at a whole year plus in advance, trying to map all of that out. This is usually the time where we look at things like our hiring and headcounts and where are all of our investments going to go into. That's pretty big right now. I don't know if all the eagle eyes out there have noticed all the new job postings we put up on our career site, but there's a number of art positions, content developers on there. That's
so what's that all about? What's that all about? Warden, like what's that all building to? Where's that investment kind of moving towards?
That large push that we put there is for more content. That is to help us execute. I'd probably say one of the better years. Looking forward, be very ambitious. I like to think we're ambitious, and that is to start staffing for that so we can get to as much of that as we can. and then we'll likely put additional support in there as well. So kind of keep an eye on that site. We've got animators, environment artists, we've got character art, we've got content developers. We've got a couple of key roles to fill in production and product side. These are all really big things right now for us.
And so, like, I remember when speaking of kind of July when we talked about this stuff, we said, we're adapting to COVID and moving to this like monthly kind of approach to content. From your point of view, like, how do you feel like it's landed? Is that something we're looking to think about continuing, or is it more of a temporary thing for you? Like, when you think about 2021, what does that look like for you?
Yeah. So the first thing I look at is what kind of reaction we get from the players. Are they talking about it? Or do they feel like we put a good effort in? And I think when we do a really good job, they tell us and shout loudly when we don't. And I'm seeing more smiles and more praises than we have in a long time. So I take that as a good sign. I think we're focused on the content story. We're trying to hit all the different avenues, right, and give a little bit of everything to each player type. Like even taking on the challenge of trying to get another quest in for the year. When we started talking about the second half of the year plans, we weren't sure if we could get it in, but we've had some folks really push for it, and trying to dress it up even more than where we started. So I think people will look forward to Violet is Blue too. Nice seeing a lot of players out there even evaluating that content for the first time or seeing it for the first time, right? And it's like I'll do a follow-up note and say, hey, did you know the second part of that quest is going to be coming up. I think it's pretty sweet. And the bossing update that's in development, it's just like I love where it's going personally and what we're doing to it. Everything from even some of the little details that people will get to see. Like we got some UI improvements that make fighting the boss pretty cool there, and but I'll save that for another stream.
I was gonna say, thank God, we need that for our reveal stream. Come on. Mike, you're obviously part of a whole bunch of things. I know you've been looking a lot at 2021. And kind of thinking ahead and kind of coercing a lot of strings together. Part of the Halloween event that just happened. Like, what's going on in your world? Like, what do you want to tell the community that has been on your mind and things that are going on with your team?
I feel really bad because I just want to tell you some of the things that we're thinking about for next year, but I daren't spoiler anything because all I'd say is we are working on our plan for 21 and even beyond at the moment, and there are some absolutely amazing things that are coming out in that plan. It's not just about the immediate content stuff. We're looking at how do we line up across all of these teams. I think we've got something like 7 or 8 different teams of people sort of working collectively on RuneScape. So it's everything from the episodic content that are doing things like the quests and the skilling and combat, the live ops guys who did things like Halloween and they're doing the yak tracks and other stuff like that. You've got the ninjas who've just been absolutely smashing it, with really cool stuff. Planning out their strikes. We've got the guys who are working on the mobile releases, and then we've got the more core game engine side and the platform and all the things that are happening there to kind of improve and modernize the game. So there's so much going on. It's really, it's just a huge stack of stuff to keep track of.
One of the real big kind of standout, one of the standouts for me that we don't talk a lot about is I love how stable our service is. And those the platform guys really put a lot of effort into running that week to week. It stays up, stays solid. The releases mostly go out on time, and even the QA teams that help get us through all the release candidates that we don't. I think we've got a lot of pressure on a lot of different areas of our development teams right now with the new rhythm. But yeah, my hat's off to those guys. They do a really fantastic job.
Yeah, and we've also been looking a lot.
No, you go. I was about to continue asking you questions, so that's perfect.
Well, we've been looking at what our plans are for some of the premium offerings in the game. So we recently took away the action bar so that they're now a free part of the game, and we want that to continue moving forward. Just look at the the different areas of the game, and where does it make sense or make less sense to ask players to pay for that content. So you're going to see more things like that happening. We'll be announcing that soon, and that's a running theme that's going to carry on throughout 2021.
Just as a note, Ryan touched it, obviously, a serendipitous time, I think that's the correct usage of the word, but we are aware that there's some kind of stability stuff going on right now following the game maintenance. Yeah. Please avoid dangerous activities in game. We are aware of it. I think that is very not in the norm, obviously, but I don't know, was that the right use of that word, by the way, or is that completely wrong? I can't remember, but tell me if you know. But other than that, just know that we are aware of it. We see you in chat, and the team are already working on it. And so Osborne is staring at me intently, which means I think I need to come to you, Mr. Mod Osborne.
He's the only one of us who can answer this serendipitous question.
You haven't answered it either, which makes me wonder if we're all in the dark.
It kind of works. He kind of did it. Yeah, I like it.
I'll take it. Cool. All right. So,
yeah, exactly.
I like Osborne, obviously, just released Orphan Dig Site, which, by the way, thank you for feeding my archaeology addiction. I'm just about to touch 111 because of Orphan. Still chasing a million potion recipe bits, though. But obviously, it seemed to go down a treat. We saw amazing kind of response, like in the engagement we tracked. We saw so many of the players that were eligible to go do this at the archaeology level get engaged, which is like awesome. How's things going in the team? How's everyone feeling? What are you looking at right now? What's got you all excited? What's going on with kind of your side of the fence?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of a glow in the team at the moment. I think a lot of that has to do with the kind of that feeling of returning to monthly updates. I know a lot of players feel the joy of getting something, that gift every month, but it is equally true of people who are working on the game, us, in that we make something to be seen and to get a reaction. And so we're getting that constant feeling of, we put something out and it's working. We put something out and it's working, and that's lovely. And that's only going to continue, which is, in fact, even more so because we've got a couple of hits in December, which is fantastic. But like this month, after the XP, we have our alternative construction training update called Construction Contracts, which I know it's coming. So if you've kind of paid attention to what Old School launch, I think it was back in August. Some similarities there. It's looking to do very similar things. So and again, if you remember the history of I think it was Mod Ryan in a game jam a couple of years ago pitched construction contracts, this idea of people who have their own houses looking for you to come in and do a bit of changing rooms or whatever it is in America, the equivalent, and come in and just fix up some their rooms, come in and do some work for them and getting a reward off that. What this means is it's a little bit less resource heavy, it's a little bit more intensive, but you get a great amount of reward for it. And it's not quite the kind of the carpal tunnel click, 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 click you get from construction training. And it's really joyous. Some kind of notorious characters with it. I won't dive in much more beyond that, and then we go into the other months, and then December hits, as we just said, with Violet is Blue 2 and a boss, which is just awesome. That is what's a hell of a Christmas present. So we're all really excited. And then of course there's the conversation about 2021 too. So all the kind of devs and QA are like trying to cherry pick the updates they want to work on. So we're very much in that kind of grab bag, what shall I work on kind of stage.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so I mean, the construction contract stuff is super exciting. We're going to talk to you more about that later. It's going to be, we're going to have a stream dedicated to it. Look out for a news post tomorrow with news on when that will be, but it's coming up soon. You'll get to see more of it. For those of you who are making your decisions about what you're going to train for double XP, you will get some information in that post too about what the minimum level cap will be. So if you're a newer player or you haven't really touched construction, then you know how you can get ready for that content. And if you're already there, you can decide if you want to wait for this or do a little bit more double XP construction training anyway. So it'll be a nice little balance. I've got a question for you actually, just before we go on to the player questions. Just one more thing, Osborne. Like how does the monthly process change from a design perspective? Because I don't think we've really talked to you about that since we changed to it. Has it changed the way you guys approach content and think about content versus where we were?
Oh, it's massive. It really is big. I mean, if you think of kind of the period of kind of the farming and herb lore, archaeology, that period where you've got more kind of colossal updates happening more infrequently, it's like you're trying to fire a bazooka and hit everybody with it, because you're not releasing so often. Every update has to really make a big splash for everybody. But when you've got those kind of monthly updates, you can look at doing something very impactful. It's almost like with sharpshooters now. We're hitting smaller targets and doing that impactfully. And there's other things as well, like from a storytelling perspective, we can have a bit of momentum. And so that stuff, desperate measures into Effigy Incubator, into the solo boss and Orphan. We can be the rat-a-tat, just get that story keeping on going, and that's fantastic from our perspective, because again, we don't have to hit with a big breeze block of story every 4 or 5 months. We can keep interest going, and as I said, it gives a little bit of health to the devs behind the scenes too. We just love releasing like that, and it gives us a bit of contingency as well. Like if something can move or switch, we have a bit more agility there, so we're not one big update moves and you don't get something for a while.
Oh yeah, I'm just glad
that next year on questing as well now with Osborne, so that there's regular beats throughout the year. We're going to see a lot more, so yeah, we're quite happy to see that.
Mod Mike coming to me and sorry, just to say that the Mod Mike coming to us and me and Mod Jack and people like that and saying, hey, you've got room for X number of stories to tell, what you're going to do with it. I want you to build up to this big moment and all this. And we're just kind of like rubbing our hands saying like, right, okay, this is where we're going. I love it.
One of the we also didn't really name drop was Elder God War Dungeon 3, right? Like kind of keep that hinted for next year. I think players will look forward to that.
Yeah, that's the tentpole. That's something that we can't wait to build up to and then come out the back of. This is this big global of so let's work up to it and make it momentous. What does it mean? And I think one of the most exciting things that I'm getting from it at the moment is it doesn't have to be a conventional God Wars dungeon. We're looking to do different things with this one. Everybody's expecting that kind of 4-boss, Slayer mob in the center kind of experience, but we've got some big ideas there, and I can't wait to talk about it.
It's about the build up for our plan for sure, and then that's also part of the reason why we staffed up even further, is that so that we can put more into next year. Like even looking at the Halloween event, right? I think next year we can do even better on that with the increased staff in the team.
Yeah, and things like Elder Gods, it's not just a one-off drop, is it? It's like a sustained, impact. So, it's going to be really exciting, I think.
Just a couple flyby questions here. We've got people asking about fixes for High Sierra. So we put out a big stability update, and we ended up breaking High Sierra when we did that, right? Just to let people know that we do have a fix inbound. It's already been tested, and it should be in for the next client release, which I think is on the 23rd, if I'm not mistaken. So hopefully we'll get some good feedback on that. Really apologize to everybody that affected, but sometimes this happens to us, and it's not always easy for us to make a fix when we've made a mistake like that, right? But yeah, fix is inbound.
Did you have another one, Warden? You mentioned a couple. Was that it?
Yeah, we had a lot of flybys about God War, Mac. We like always we get the like when's the iOS coming, right? And we're pretty hamstrung. But mobile is likely our next big growth release, right? And that will be happening next year. And that's when really iOS will be unlocked for everybody.
So thanks to everyone. Thanks everyone for watching. Also, if you've come in to see if your question is going to get answered, thanks for bearing with us. Hopefully you like this section. Let us know afterwards as well, especially in places like Rubik's TLDW, stuff like that, what you thought, and if you like this kind of opening section. We just wanted to spend some time to talk to you and give you a little bit of insight, and hopefully on top of the questions give you kind of interesting bits of information or answers. So let us know what you thought. Right, so now that we've got through that, we've got to get to the meat of the pie, which is your question. So for those of you who don't know, we've been grabbing these questions on Reddit throughout the course of the week, and we've grabbed a bunch and we've kind of put them together into questions that are themed generally on what we saw the most of, as well as some other ones that we felt like we could bring answers to and stuff like that. So hopefully these will be a great little pick for you guys. The top one is more about Steam. I think we saw quite a few comments about people asking what the impact of Steam's been. Are we seeing players stick around? Are we seeing satisfying results? How has it gone, really, I think is the question. So anyone want to fill in on how Steam's done for us?
Well, I look at the data like 13 times a day, just right across our business, right? So we maintain a really solid level of activity. Sometimes we look at it as daily active users or peak concurrency, and that's been super solid. And it's like I'm just completely taken back at all the positive feedback that players wrote about RuneScape on Steam, and it was just completely impressive on how such a large community mobilized to welcome new players. We saw the in server events, we saw the presence, we saw the like, hey, what can I do to help a med mentality, right? All of the player guides, all of the content creators just kind of really stepping up. Wow, like I can't say anything more about that. We've getting a lot of live stream activity as well when we're posting content on there. That's really great to see. And it's just taking it all in. It was a relatively stable release. We had some account linking issues that affected a few people in the beginning. That was very isolated, thankfully. That could have gone horribly wrong, but I think we did pretty good. We had most of the kind of critical live issues fixed within a couple of hours for such a big platform for us to take on, and that hasn't been our forte, right? We've really not been present in that ecosystem. So relatively went smoothly, and all the community interactions, like we had the war room that was open on our Slack channels and Zoom channels, and just kind of like the in and out of everybody. Hey, I'm learning this. What can we do about that? And getting repros happening on certain issues. That was just high energy. That was such an awesome feeling. And it's also about now building support. We want to bring Steam to Mac as well. That is definitely something we're trying to get built into the plan. So watch out for that one.
Yeah, and like, our players stick around. Like, is it something that we're seeing like a growth in the RuneScape community? Like, how's it looking from a kind of size perspective?
Size perspective, we maintain over 10,000 peak concurrent, and that ebbs and flows throughout the day, right? But that's usually where
we're like top 75 in that, something like that.
Yeah, we hover somewhere between top 40, top 75, and
wow.
And we hover even higher if you just look at free to play games. But it's like we couldn't have had a better launch, in my opinion. And the attention Valve gave us, because they saw all the movement of the community jumping on RuneScape, and they gave us extra spotlighting per perspective, but it was based off of the effort we put into it. We brought the achievements in, we brought the emoticons, the badges, just making sure our assets look good, our creative, our narrative around what is RuneScape. Like, it's hard to describe what RuneScape is to another player. Right? Imagine trying to distill that down to a couple bullet points that people remember and think about, and just making sure that we were present on community, and we're still present on that community. That's probably made your job a lot harder, Madhuli and team. But that's like doing a huge increase to our overall audience overnight. And there was a lot of things to ready, and now we have to live up to it and support it and pay attention to it and nurture it. And when we do product releases, it's now not just doing a product release on our own website, our own live stream. It's about how do we now bring that into Steam, make sure the message is consistent and present and nurtured in the same way.
So hopefully that answered a lot.
We've seen lots of new players as well, haven't we? important. It's been really great to see huge volumes of new players coming into the game, sticking around, really enjoying it, but also engaging in the discussions. So on the Steam forums and stuff like that, they're all really sort of active and telling us what they think and giving us feedback, writing reviews. So yeah, really delighted to see the new blood. I know, Warden, you've talked about that quite a lot in the past, and something you really wanted to get movement on. I think we're really seeing it now. It's just encouraging the team, and we think we can do more.
All the extra theory crafting, even, right? Like it's just another space, and it's not just older player theory crafting. It's brand new ones coming up with their own thoughts, and just a lot of cross pollination there.
I just want to say as well, just to reiterate what everyone said, like the community team especially loved getting involved in all the things that were going on. I think like the stories of people like helping out, I know some of our mods were jumping in and just watching people helping new players and just sitting back and taking it in. I've got to be the part of a lot of different launches as a community manager, and it was definitely the most stunning one I've ever seen for a community turning up. It was like, it sounds corny to say, but it was honestly like breathtaking, like sit back, like, whoa, this is actually the community we have. So like, when we say you turned up, like, believe me, like everyone was in awe of what you were doing. So big shout out to the community. It was yeah, I'm a lucky CM. So I'm going to move on to the next question. I think this is probably best for you, Mod Osborne. Feel free to pass the ball if you feel like it's better placed somewhere else. So in the past, we've talked about content that maybe hasn't seen the light of day, or we haven't talked about for a while. What's the news or plans around those kind of like things from the past, or unfinished quest series, or announced content that maybe hasn't seen the light of day, and so on?
Yeah, I think with this one, over the past probably 4 or 5 years, we've felt really kind of the burden of all the things that we've promised, and that has kind of directed decision making quite a bit. I think that what I'm really interested in, and it's kind of unshackled the team creatively a little bit, is actually what does the game need most? Like 5 years time, will we look back and say that they released that because that is what the game needed? So if you think about some of the updates that have come up, like contracts, we need something to alleviate a little bit of the burn when it comes to construction. We solved that. We need to feed like EVMers who really want a new boss to play, so we feed that. Orphan, like, you can't have a skill come out and then not release any more content for that skill. So then we have, so it's less about what looking back and what we have previously promised, and more about what the game needs, and if we can inflect it in such a way that actually we can bring a little bit of that in. Like construction contracts has been in a game jam a long time ago, and I was like, yeah, we can do that. The solo boss, it kind of has that Anachronian twist to it, and that then gets some content Anachronian. We promised that too. So it's more about moving the priority to what the game needs, and I think that's really creatively unburdened us, and we can do a lot more. But that's not to say that we won't, I'm thinking about 2021 now. There are a lot of things in there that you could see as promises, but they just happen to be maneuvered that way.
I like to frame it I like to frame it that we're really have our sights focused on the future. Just, it's, if you think about it in a few different ways, future growth, future new players, future platforms, future stores, right? Future content. And kind of like, maintaining our DNA and identity as a game and carrying that forward into the future, right? Modernizing the game in the future. What does that actually mean? What does that look like, right? It could come from everything from improving the look and feel to the responsiveness, and we've also talked about a lot of the accessibility aspect, right, of the game. So to me, these are about moving forward into the future. Cool. Anything else there?
I hope to
Mod Mike?
Yeah, well, I think it's not just the game content, but it's also the way the game's set up. So I know over the last year we've talked a lot about things like treasure hunter, and have we got the balance right there? So a lot of our plans for next year are where can we continue getting that right, to get the right balance of events. So lean into more of those kind of events that people are really enjoying. Get the right mix with things like the yak track. I know we've had a couple of issues with things overlapping recently, so we want to kind of iron out the wrinkles, but really kind of lean into those things where players have got loads of stuff to do. There's always things going on in the game. It keeps it alive, keeps things, you know, feeling really buoyant and active. But then, yeah, like I kind of spoke about a little bit earlier, we want to take away some of the bits where there's a bit of negativity around it, so the friction around some of the MTX kind of services. So we're going to work through a program of steps there, all the way up to, you know, how do we want to look at the way we develop Treasure Hunter. So some of the stuff we've done over this year has been quite experimental, to give us a bit more info on what kind of stuff works, and we'll see more of that happening. But we want to get that balance right. So we've got a good kind of healthy game that players can enjoy sort of moving forward into the future.
So I'm going to grab a question from our we've got a running list of questions. I'm going to grab this in a little bit just to stay relative on Mike, that I think would be great to build on from that. So like one of the questions we got is that before events like Yak Track could be something that impacted the presence of Treasure Hunter, and the community was wondering, like, is that still the case? What's the latest on that front? What are we building towards or kind of thinking about when we think about the future?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think it's about, the balance. Where do we put the emphasis? Is it more about, Treasure Hunter promotions that we, feature very heavily, or are we in a situation where we can start to sort of, put those more on the back seat a little bit? So we've tested out things like changing the duration. So we're not doing kind of multiple events per week. So things like Second Chance Tuesday. We've tested out what mechanics that have a longer duration, or some sort of progression mechanics within them, and these things kind of sit better alongside systems like the Yak Track. But we've seen a lot of excitement about Yak Track. People really getting involved. We've got one coming up at the end of the month, which is a little bit more festive. Lots of fun stuff there. Some really cool pets, and yeah, I think people will enjoy it. So.
Warden, is there anything you want to that on your end?
Sorry, I didn't hear you there.
I was just saying, Warden, is there anything else you'd like to add as well, just before I move on?
I think Mike covered all of those elements, and yeah, and it's just like just keeping our minds open to everything, and we've taken a number of steps already this past year, and we'll continue to do more throughout the next year as well.
And just to remain on the topic, obviously recently we had an Oddments related bug that happened. We promised the community in some responses in Reddit, we get back to them, and just of today we've got an update. Do you one of you want to take that and share what we've just done? Yeah,
for sure. So this has been a priority to work on over the past week or so. We needed to do a full investigation into what happened, and have full diligence and checks before we took any action. But we have identified a number of accounts. It's not it's a small number of accounts where this is we don't think this is the right kind of fair play that we want to see in the game. So we have issued some temporary bans today to those accounts, and we'll be taking back any kind of experience and items that have been gained illegitimately by exploiting the bug.
Yeah, and that's like half the press news too. So your community, you guys watching are one of the first to hear about it as well. And I know, Mike, you've been working as well. We've been kind of looking at how we better catch these in future as well, right?
Yeah. So obviously we don't want these things to happen regularly, but sometimes it happens. It's just the nature of game development. But we're looking, at our internal processes. What do we need to have on the the checklist of stuff that we look at with each release, and catch them before they occur. So we've kind of picked up on a number of areas just over the last few weeks. So we're going to improve that and make sure it doesn't happen anymore.
Cool. Right, let's go to the next question. Is there a team dedicated to restoring, revisiting, or pruning old content?
I'll grab that one.
I wouldn't say there's a team. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. There's no single team, is there? I think that's basically what you're going to say. That we have several teams who really have that as kind of like their top line part, their MO. So obviously you've got the Ninja team for small. quality of life stuff. We're looking at reworking the things that we have to make, and they can have disproportional benefit for people who use them. We love the Ninja team for that. We're going to continue doing the strikes. I think it was Modkali had said that there was like 5 years worth of dojo things to be doing. You know, we could keep working through, and we're making sure the cream really rises to the top. But then you've also got things like we haven't really shown them off as much as we could, and I really want to. But this kind of CXP mobile team that is looking at a lot of core stuff that new players coming across that will, you know, in mobile, in Steam, and looking to rework a lot of that early game stuff. And that you were going to see more of the fruits of that. I mean, obviously you've seen kind of outlining the canopy cutout. There's a lot of stuff that has come out already, but there will be more. And really, we saw from Penguin Hide and Seek that the episodic teams are also looking to rip out and change and update existing stuff just as much as they are bringing in the new. So you'll see that more and more, and we've got some updates that are coming that are doing that. Yeah.
Cool. Actually, one of the things that was brought up quite often was some people asking about Leagues 2 that's just happened for old school RuneScape. Obviously, they just launched that. The reception's been amazing. Have we ever thought about a League type game mode for RS3? Is it something we feel like we'd ever look at? I think people are looking at it and going like, you know, it's a great thing to watch for sure. I've had a lot of fun spectating.
Well, how cool is that, right? Like, hats off to the old school team for doing an awesome launch there, and just tremendous amount of activity, a lot of people having fun, and it's like definitely something to pay attention to. But I think our focus right now is what's best in our wheelhouse at the moment. It doesn't mean that we don't talk about these things ever, or we ever talk to the old school team. Like we talk to these guys quite a bit about how these programs work and what they like about it. And I think if we were to do it, we'll find things that make sense for RuneScape. And I know Mod Osborne has a lot more thoughts on this too.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to duplicate everything that old school have done. I mean, there are things that they, you know, let's let them own it and watch the streams ourselves and enjoy it. I think that, like personally, there are things that we do really well. We do PVM really well. We do skilling really well. I would love clue scrolls even. You know, I'd love us to look in that area. We could do more with competition, worlds first, leaderboards and things like that. You may see more in that kind of field, but there's things that suit us better. It's better not just to chase the duplication of something that's been done the other side of the fence.
I have to say, I had a ton of fun watching all the streamers chasing 120 Arch, and then I thought, oh, it's quite quick to get there. I can get there, and then I found out how quick, not quick, 99 to 120 is. So they are
hours I lost watching Makeru. Yeah.
So another question we've got here actually is, do we have any plans to look at rare tokens in any way? Is that something on our radar?
I think we probably should. I've noticed a lot of feedback saying, you know, there's nothing to really spend them on anymore. So I think that's something we've taken on board. I think the oddments system is a good suggestion for how we could do that. So yeah, Mod Osborne, we should have a chat about that and make sure there's things in the plan. But
yeah, sounds good.
Oh, there you go. That was fruitful. Was the free-to-play limit, level 20 limit for archaeology, considered a success? Do you think we will end up doing this for other skills, or do we even know that at this stage?
Yeah, so the free-to-play, we didn't see a huge uptick from it, but so one of the problems with taking skills up to certain other level boundaries is it works better for some skills than it does others. As soon as you raise the boundary, then you've got geographical issues. Some skills just literally don't have the content in the free-to-play area, so it becomes a bit more problematic. I think we will probably look at addressing free-to-play from a different avenue than that, probably.
Yeah, you can get to level 20 quite quickly as well, can't you?
Yeah.
But I felt they didn't really offer enough value, so...
Archaeology was just a joy regardless, so we'll take the pluses from that anyway.
Yeah, I got one here. So this will be speaking hypothetically, because we don't want people to take any, like, reading too much into this. This is more of a personal desire thing for you, and I guess it's probably best directed at you, Mod Osborne. After, you know, construction contracts is out, will have given a new alt training method for construction. Which skill would you ideally visit next if you had carte blanche and you had all the resource in the world and you could just go, whoop, go do it? Well, just out of interest.
I do. But it's quite an interesting one to answer because obviously we have got plans to release skilling content that does offer alternate training methods and addressing issues with skills in next year. So I'm going to be kind of careful which ones I pick out. But like there are clear two for me. I feel like agility is one. I know we had the agility course in Anachronia, which does a lot for the kind of the top end agility when you start feeling a bit of the birthday courses. But I would love at looking at particularly like, what do I get from agility? Run energy isn't the thing it was. What's the joyful thing that I get from agility that drags me through the skill? Love to answer that. And the other one is divination. It definitely needs some sexification. It needs to be a reason to train it. It needs to have a little bit more joy in the core loop of it. Like, you know, getting a wisp and dumping it in the crater it sits somewhere between low and high intensity, and it would really benefit from a bit more of an injection of oomph. So those are my two. Personally, my number one skill is dungeoneering. So if I were being completely mercenary and selfish, I would just have loads. But there we go.
Cool. Wardham, Mike, and same question to you.
I like cooking. No, just kidding. I'm always new and fresh, but I always like seeing new skills coming to the table. So, I got to join the company when we're just on the tail end of archaeology, right? And seeing what that did for the players. I think players like seeing something new.
I was a lucky ducky. I was joining the company just as archaeology, or I accepted my job here just as archaeology was releasing, so I got to play it on the side of doing my other job. That's why I was outbound. So it was like perfect for me.
I think Moroz's really covered it, but I was going to say agility, because I just find that one a little bit less entertaining than some of the other skills. So, we'll have to just wait and see, won't we? See what comes next.
Some players raised, is the tick rate improvement still being worked on or in our plans? For those who don't remember, this was something shown at RuneFest around improving tick rate in certain situations, if I recall combat correctly. And if that's still kind of on our radar.
I think the way we're looking at performance and tick rate as overall. So like we launched the back-end work we did to achievements, right? That is a part of a tick rate, is one of our most costly scripts on our servers. And so that overhaul was necessary to kind of take that one off the list and then move on to the next one. The stuff that we showed at RuneFest last year is a crazy problem to try and solve for. Because as we start going through just essentially changing the whole behavior of the game, start being cognizant of what that might mean to gameplay. It could change the whole thing of how PVM works or other elements that players are very familiar about and used to working with. So it's not an easy problem to solve for. And as we start going through it, it kind of really blew up into a much bigger problem to try and solve for. But where we can get a lot of other gains are what we're doing with things like achievements, things like looking at the tick rate of our scripts. That is likely something you'll hear from us in the future. All of these things are very costly to the overall performance of the game. And then there's other like ancillary things that deal with the performance of the game, like chatting with some of our Brazilian players, right? The game servers that we have for that are based out of Miami. I want to look at could we bring something a little closer to home for them to improve even things like ping times, not just the responsiveness of the tick of the game. So I think we can address performance more broadly and better, and nothing's ever off the table, and we're always talking about it. Like it's something it comes up in conversation almost daily is performance. So we'll keep trying to make improvements there.
Yeah, I think there are some really exciting things planned around, just even looking at the way the game loads and how can we make improvements there so it feels less juddery. And even things like the lighting system in the game, they're all things we want to tackle. And there's, we can, really take the game into, as we were talking about earlier, the kind of future. What is RuneScape like in the future? So I think it's really exciting.
Yeah, and I think if a cool part of what we've talked about as well is like getting ready for those new markets as well, right? Like with things like mobile, there's a lot of work that goes into the back end on that stuff, right? As well, in terms of not just performance-wise, but first-time user experience stuff like that, right? That's all stuff we're looking at as well, isn't it?
Yes.
I just saw Mod 1. I was thinking it was going to spawn an expansion, but that's brilliant. Okay, I'm conscious of time.
Like holding it all in.
Yeah, I know. So there's also a question. We kind of covered that one actually, so I'll skip there. Got a question here. What sort of impact has been had on the game as a result of holding Double XP live events 4 times a year? So obviously, for those who aren't in the know, we used to have them as weekends and 2 a year at points. So now we're up to 4.
Yeah, well, we're looking at the data around this all the time, but the game's in a really good state at the moment. We've got more players, we've got more activity than I think going back for probably about 7 years now. So we're actually in a really good place in terms of membership, the amount of people playing concurrently, and all those things. Are because there's always something to do in the game. There's things happening regularly, so we think it's a good thing. We want to keep. So we've got new players who are coming in through things like Steam that are really excited about like experiencing a Double XP live. So we'll see how that goes. But I think it's having a good impact overall.
Cool. And obviously we're trying to increase events all up, right? So we've been talking about doing more events as well. Is generally the plan, right? So we've got Yacht Tracks and the beach and Halloween and stuff like that as well. It kind of sits alongside that, right? Is that the thinking?
Yeah, I think we wanted to get more balance with those kind of seasonal events, bring back things that we've done more in the past, like Halloween and Christmas or Easter, and just improve the way we do those. But then maybe have less kind of overlap or too much crowding around events. So give them their own space. So that's kind of how we're looking at it now.
And speaking of Double XP, there was a couple of questions on this. I know some of you watching will know the answer and understand the answer, but we did get quite a few questions on this. So why was restoring artifacts excluded from Double XP when it comes to archaeology? Like, what's the purpose and thought process behind that?
Yeah, we had long conversations about it because obviously there's a few avenues we could have taken. We could have just had a blanket XP multiplication on archaeology, similar to how we do with summoning. But in the end, what it boils down to fundamentally is, do we want to change the way that archaeology is trained, or do we want to keep the way that archaeology is trained? And we opted for the choice that meant that we retained the way that archaeology was trained. People weren't going to save all their artifacts Double XP weekend, not restoring them, that kind of thing. So that was the we took, because obviously restoration of artifacts is the mother lode of XP that you get from the core loop of archaeology training. So we think that's the right choice. It did. There was there is a version of this where we could have done the summoning route, and a lot of players would have been it would have been folded into the DXP kind of routine, get your artifacts ready and things like that. It would have been the heartbeat of the year. But we think this is for the best of the game in the long term.
Brilliant. Cool. Okay, I've only got a few more questions. Hopefully I can get some pinged over from the chat. We've got some great people watching helping get me questions, because my computer currently crashes if I have Twitch chat open, which is hilarious when you're hosting a stream about questions. Got a question here. Will more Steam achievements be added in the future? That's something we're considering.
Yeah, for sure. It's something we've already talked about. We started with the first 20. But yeah, I'd like to get more Steam achievements in there.
Cool. The actual last question I have actually was covered earlier, which was about releasing new quests soon. Obviously, we talked there's a Christmas themed quest in December. We talked about the increasing regularity. So we kind of got to the bottom of my list here. Yeah, no, no, it's great. That's good. Sorry. I'm glad they came out in the wash. I've got some questions from chat here. Some people were asking if there's going to be a Premier Club this year. It's a common question in chat right now. I think it's safe to say we can all nod our heads on that one, right? And say stay tuned.
Yeah, it's going to be announced fairly soon. So yeah, just watch this space. But it's coming up fairly quickly now. So
cool. Another question, and this one would be considering what you were saying, Mr. Osborne. Any plans to change summoning like we've done to be more like archaeology when it comes to double XP, or are we going to leave it as it is?
It's a very good question. I mean, we're going to leave it as is for the moment. That's the conversation that Mod Mike and I would have to have. But
we have discussed it, haven't we?
Yeah, in the dim and distant past.
Of about 4 months ago or something, but yeah. So yeah, there's lots of things we could do with it. There's just so many things sort of, we want to achieve. So yeah, we'll get to it as soon as we can, I think.
I have a question here as well that I know I saw a Reddit conversation on this the other day, so I'm guessing it's that. Will Ashdale ever get something to do there? Are you ever thinking of doing a construction contract there or a dig site or anything like that?
Yeah, so I have some problems with Ashdale. Obviously it was built in such a way that it's not modular. It's not, to update it is very difficult. There are not buildings like Ashdale on any other part of the game world. So it is problematic to bring it up to standard, as it were. But I've also, from a narrative perspective, it is so dislocated. It's hard to bring it into that core narrative of RuneScape. There was many reasons why we did Ashdale as we did, but a lot of those we kind of moved beyond. So, not at the moment. In fact, when we're looking at kind of the tutorial, the first-time user experience, that kind of thing, I think we'd probably look to go in a different direction rather than look to bring Ashdale more into the fold. So the long-term for Ashdale is probably being more pushed to the side than more integrated, I'm afraid.
Gotcha.
Unless with that sparkling reason for why it should exist, what we could do with it, that kind of thing.
Cool. Well, I mean, that's pretty much all I've got on my end. Mod Warden, Mod Mike, Mod Osborne, any questions you've seen in the chat that you want to jump on that we've missed, or anything you want to say just before we sign out for the evening?
I just love how players like to tease.
What's the tease?
Oh man, I've been compared to Gothic.
I'm blind. I have no idea. Oh,
yeah, no, it's old man Warden is on the booze. It's like I don't even drink, so I'm not on the booze. It's just end of day. Sorry if I'm not too lively.
As you mentioned,
it to me, Mod Mike.
I think 4 times actually at the start of the stream, Mod Warden, you mentioned the word tired, so I think people have context. I know you were saying it's been a tiring year. It has been a tiring year. It's been a very busy year, but in a very good way. So. Mod Mike, anything from you?
I don't think anybody realises. Sorry, I was just going to say, I don't think anybody realises how long Mod Warden's hours are and how things he is constantly in. It happens.
Keep everyone sleepy, so.
Yeah.
I don't think he stops. Just to say, big thanks to everybody who's been playing recently. Hope everybody's excited for the future of the game as we are. Keep checking in because we're going to have plenty of exciting news coming up. There's a little birthday around the corner that might be happening soon.
Oh my!
Oh,
come soon.
Thank you for remembering. It's only like a week and a half away. I'm going to be 10 years older than RuneScape, so there you go. All right, everybody. Well, on that note, thank you very much for joining us. I hope we answered a lot of your questions tonight. Thank you to all our leads for jumping in and finding the time too. As I mentioned, everyone's pretty busy here, so hopefully you found this really valuable and got a bunch of insight. We will be back with these semi-regularly, they aren't going to be few and far between, so stay tuned. There will be more opportunities if we didn't get to your question. If we didn't, I apologise, but we tried to prioritise the ones we saw the most, answered the most. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a lovely rest of your week, and we'll see you very soon back here on RuneScape Strive stream. I don't know where I was going with that. Sayonara. See you later.